Namaste and good morning, everyone. We'll start with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We'll chant Mahamrityunjay mantra 3 times to pray for those who are in suffering, particularly because of this ongoing pandemic. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Today is a very special day, as many of you would know. Today is the Mahasamadhi day of great master Paramahams Yoganandaji. It has been 69 years since he left his mortal earthly body, and since then his teachings, his life has inspired more and more people. It is said to be one of the signs of a great master, that not only in his life he inspired many people to walk on the spiritual path, even after his Mahasamadhi, many more people have been inspired by his classic autobiography of a yogi as well as other books. So it's an honor for me to be able to speak on this special day to you all. I was also fortunate to be invited to share some thoughts on January 5th, which is Yoganandaji's birthday this year, with our Kriyaban group in Colombia. And I shared some teachings of Yoganandaji with the group there. Those teachings are so beautiful. I want to share them again with you today, even though some of the people may be common from that group. So I want to share one particular teaching with you of Yoganandaji. And I'll share the PowerPoint. And it is from his book, Journey to Self-Realization. So I'll read it, and then you can also read it, but I'll read it aloud. On the screen of time, a drama of life is being enacted in the mundane movie mansion. The cosmic motion picture director has been projecting on the screen the many and varied pictures of ancient, medieval, and modern times. He films pictures of war, famine, poverty, tragedy, comedy. We can probably add the pandemic also currently is going on, good and evil, to keep the audience entertained throughout eternity. During the playing of your part, so that is the first part of the teaching. What the great master is equating all the various happenings in this world at an individual level as well as at the collective level to like the projection of a movie in a theater. From God's perspective, these are just the scenes which he is projecting, and they don't have inherent reality in them, despite appearing so real, just like in a movie theater. In a movie theater, when I come across a scene of war, of poverty, of evil people, it may seem painful, yet I am unaffected, actually speaking, because it's just a movie scene. Similarly, there could be the scenes of great joy, merriment, prosperity, love, and that is also equally unreal. Both good and evil do not touch me because I am separate from that. And those scenes have been going through eternity. This being the case, this is his teaching, the advice, what should be done. During the playing of your part, agreeable or otherwise, do not wish to play somebody else's role. Complete your own assignment, or you will have to spend eons of time in the enactment of imperfect human parts, changing from one to another according to the change of your desires. Get away from this entrapment. This is a very important part. Do not wish to play somebody else's role. As you can read more about these teachings in more detail in this book, Journey to Self-Realization. The title of the talk was Realizing Your Christ Immortality. The great master explains further on this part that a person may be going through a role of poverty. He may be playing through the role of poverty, and he doesn't like it, doesn't accept it, and prays to the Lord. Oh, only if I could have money, more money, my life would be so wonderful. It will be all wonderful. The compassionate Lord in the next life gives him money, makes him a rich person. But then probably his health is not good. And he lives that life again dissatisfied. Oh, only if I had good health, life would be perfect. Again, in the next life, he is born with a good health, good body. And maybe he doesn't find joy in the relationships. There is no happiness in the family for him. And again, he lives a very dissatisfied life and prays, only if I had good relationships, good family life, I would be so happy. And perchance he is granted that also in his next life. Then he is craving for the name and fame because he may be doing good work, but nobody knows about it. And he sees people who are not really doing such good work, they are pretty famous. And so he prays for the fame. Oh, I should have been famous. Life is meaningless otherwise. And on and on. Maybe he is given that also. Next life, he is made a famous person. But then he doesn't have any power, so he is looking for the political power, maybe. So what Yogananji is reminding us here, this list is endless. The kind of scenes which are being played, there is no end to it. You keep on desiring, you will always find something missing in the life. World is never going to become a perfect place ever for anybody. And therefore his advice that do not wish to play somebody else's role, because this is a never-ending phenomenon. Even during the playing of your part, even if it's not agreeable, if it's agreeable, of course, people will be happy. But no matter how agreeable it is, there will always be elements which are not agreeable. Do not wish in that case to play somebody else's role. Complete your own assignment, or you will have to spend eons of time, go one after another. There is no end to it. And he's telling that this is nothing but an entrapment. It's a beautiful teaching, difficult to accept at times. If somebody is working as a medical assistant, should she not dream of becoming a doctor? It's an interesting thought. Is it wrong on her part to dream of becoming a doctor from a medical assistant? Because that's what her role is at this point of time. So I will let you think about it, and then I just want to draw your attention to the similar message in Bhagavad Gita, and that verse is 335. Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat swanushthetat swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. One should follow one's own duty even if it is devoid of merit, rather than follow the duty of others. It is better to die while following your own duty than to follow that of another, which would be dreadful. Lord Krishna here is using even stronger words, that it's better to die than try to follow somebody else's dharma. Actually, the Sanskrit word here is dharma, which is roughly translated as duty here. And these words, swadharma or paradharma, the one which are used in the original words, always difficult to translate into one word in English. They have pretty deep meaning. And this verse alone can be the subject of a talk of 1 hour or more. It is one of those verses in Gita which baffles people that what does it mean? What does it exactly mean? Once I asked Guruji, that what is wrong to follow somebody else's dharma if my dharma is not good enough. And he gave a beautiful spiritual explanation of this verse. So that is coming from the Sanskrit words. So swa means self, one's own, dharma. And para means other. Dharma, the duty, the attitude which takes you forward in the direction of self, to know yourself, that is swadharma. On the other hand, paradharma, para is, there is a verse in Kathopanishad, Indriyani Paranyahu. The sense organs are others. The dharma of sense organs or the mind which takes you toward the world, that is paradharma. So he told me that therefore, even if you find that the paradharma, the one which other people are following, which is taking them to the worldly enjoyments, that may look and enticing, that may look very attractive, yet not to follow that. Swadharma, at times it may seem like as if there is no joy. I'm sitting for meditation. Why to do that? Other person is going to theater. He's enjoying so much. I should also go and enjoy the theater. Why should I sit for the meditation? There would be times like that. And yet, even in those times when Swadharma seems devoid of merit, Paradharma seems very attractive. It's better to follow Swadharma and better to die while practicing Swadharma instead of giving in to Paradharma, which is very dreadful. That's such a beautiful explanation. I really like, because that dissolves all the doubt in terms of why Swadharma is so more important than Paradharma. A very common question which comes when we discuss this verse, that how to know what is my Swadharma? How to know? How to know that this is the right path for me and not something else? Yogananji has given an example here of the drama of life being enacted in the movie mentioned. And I am playing a role. If that is understood, that I am playing a role, then a role of beggar is not worse than the role of a king. A person who is playing the role of beggar will not be willing to exchange the role of the king just because that's the role of the king. He would actually play the role of beggar very beautifully if he is a good actor. So from the theoretical perspective, that part is understood, that why is it not wise to seek somebody else's role, realizing that it's a role. The problem on our hand is that we do not understand that it is a role. We take it as a reality, and then of course the struggle will be there. Another problem is that, unlike in a role where I'm on a stage, where the drama is well defined, there is a director, the script is given, not only to me, to the other actors also. I act as per that script. So do others. And everything seems falling in place there. So there is no confusion that if I'm playing the role of a beggar, then why should I seek the role of a king? But so-called real life doesn't seem like real life. It seems like that there is no well-defined role. I can do what I want to a certain extent. Others are doing whatever they feel like. And that makes it very difficult. I don't see the director. There is nobody prompting me. So how do I understand it as a role? And that is the biggest struggle for a spiritual seeker naturally. That how do I understand this thing as a role? It doesn't look like a role. When I'm suffering from poverty, when I'm suffering from bad relationships, when I'm suffering from bad health, it doesn't look like a role. It looks very real. It looks very painful. And that will remain the part of the struggle. Perchance, when we develop the faith in Master's words, and things start becoming clearer for us, then we realize, oh, it's really a role, and there will be no desire to play somebody else's role in that case. Till then, as here the Master is saying, they do not wish to play somebody else's role. So even if it is not agreeable and you are not very clear that it is indeed just a role, he is saying, yet play your role properly, in the sense, do your duty, whatever at that point of time your duty, the right thing to happens to be, do that properly. And probably in time, it will be revealed to you that it is indeed a role. Indeed, there is a director. And that director, as we are saying, he's saying the cosmic motion picture director. That is another, he's referring to God here. And once I get to know the director, everything becomes very clear that it is indeed a role. There is a plan. And my real life, other than this role, is actually one with him. So with this, I would stop here. And if you have any questions, you can please feel free to write in the chat window. Okay, so there are no more questions except somebody is saying, please explain this again. I'm not sure what part you wanted to explain again. So either you please clarify or we'll move on to the meditation. So how to know our duty? What is the duty? We know what is our duty, what is the right thing to do. So the question is how to know what is my duty. There is a difference between what is my role versus what is my duty. Role apparently refers to something like a bigger picture, where I know, oh, I have to play the role of a doctor in this life, or I have to play the role of nurse in this life. So I'm not talking of that particular part here. That is something which is difficult for us to know. But knowing our duty in the moment, that is relatively easier to know. And that is what we can do properly. So at any point of time, there is a sense in me what is the right thing to do. And more I listen to that part, what is the right thing to do, more it becomes clear to me later on. More I suppress that voice, that what is the right thing to do, more it becomes difficult for me to understand that voice. That voice never goes away completely though, but it becomes more difficult for me to listen to that voice and understand that voice, and the confusion reigns. So for example, I'll just give you a simple example. I know at any point of time that the right thing is to speak the truth, and yet I do not. So in that case, my duty is to speak the truth. I know that part is clear to me. If I do that, if I follow that duty, next time when that moment comes, what is my duty, it will become clearer to me. If I do not, if I violate that inner call of speaking the truth because of some reason, because of maybe I'm trying to get out of some difficult situation, maybe I'm trying to make some more money or whatever, then it will become more difficult for me to know my duty. So again, but as I said, this voice is never completely goes away. It just gets suppressed. So the only way to understand what is my duty is to actually follow what you understand that is your duty, and follow it faithfully, and then it will become clearer to you again. So there is a question, and we don't have a lot of time, but I'll take 2-3 minutes. Does playing a role preclude wanting to change one's circumstances? It actually, so if you understand it's a role, remember this. So the whole struggle comes because we do not understand. All these questions actually arise simply because I do not understand that it's a role. If you truly understand it's a role, the question, no questions will arise. This whole thing will become just so clear that yes, that's how it is. Because I do not understand that what I'm doing is actually a role, but it's a reality, then all these questions do arise that should I not be able to change my circumstances? So yes, it is fine as long as I do not understand, because as I told you, right, if you are playing the role of a beggar, you will not like to change your circumstances to play the role of a king. You will just like to play the role of the beggar very beautifully because it's a role. But if I do not understand it as a role, then I would naturally want to change my circumstances. And what master is saying that do not wish to play somebody else's role. So if I do not understand that it is a role, I cannot help but to desire that I would play somebody else's role. And in that case, again, you follow your duty, you follow your dharma, and even if you are trying to change your circumstances, it's okay as long as it is in line with following the dharma. So there is a question, how do we get through extreme struggle in doing our duty when it is tremendously disagreeable and we can see truth very well? If you can see truth very well, you will not find it difficult. You will not find extreme struggle. The problem when you are describing the extreme struggle is only because I do not see the truth very well. So this is a kind of a, like, as you can understand, if you can see the truth, there will not be extreme struggle. There's a question of where does free will stand? Is the free will given by God? So that's a little bit bigger question, and probably will require far more discussion than 2 minutes we have. So this is a question again. So you had mentioned a medical assistant wanting to become a doctor. Can you please clarify this? Should one not aspire? As I told you, if it is understood as a role, then there is no question of aspiration. If it is not understood as a role, of course aspiration will be there. You can't help it. Okay, so the person again said, yes, I cannot see the truth very well. So yes, in that case, you pray to God. You pray to God for giving you the strength to go through that extreme struggle. And remember, as long as we do not understand that it is a role, we cannot avoid trying to change our circumstances. And it will be perfectly fine to attempt for change of the circumstances, except that I still keep following my dharma. I do not violate my dharma. Then it will be okay. So there is a question here. Pranam Swamiji, for someone who is young and really interested in spirituality, how to decide whether to be a householder or otherwise? This kind of question cannot be answered in a generic sense. If you have that question, you can ask personally later on, but there is no generic answer for that question. So with this, I know this is a very, very intense topic, and one can actually just have a retreat on this topic for like 4 or 5 classes. As somebody already asked a question related to free will. So we have the limitation of time here, and I will I will go to the meditation part now and guide a short meditation. So if you contemplate on it, you read more about this article or more about this verse, some things might become clear to you. So slide 2 is Bhagavad Gita, verse number 335. And first one is from Yoganand Ji's book, Journey to Self-Realization. The chapter is Realizing Your Christ Immortality. That is the chapter here. So you can read more, and Yoganand Ji definitely has given more details, more like it's a full talk of him. So some of the things may become clearer there. Okay, thank you so much for all your questions and interest. With this, I will be guiding a short general meditation. So please close your eyes. Sit down straight. And I'll just turn off my video. Audio will be, so anyway, you don't have to see. So that part will be fine. Just close your eyes. Spine straight. Just let your breath settle down. Just naturally, in a very natural manner, no effort. Just let your breath settle down. Slowly, the breath is becoming rhythmic, slow and feeble. Slowly take your attention to the top of your head, called fontanelle. In this meditation, we'll be taking the slow, long, and deep breaths. And there is when we breathe, the gross air that goes to the lungs, there is a subtle component of breath which goes everywhere in the body, including some special points in the spine called chakras. And that can also be felt on the top of the head, resulting into an extreme calmness and peace. Take a slow, long, and deep breath. Inhale. Hold. Very gently bow down in the front as much as you can comfortably. Exhale. You are bowing to the God. You are bowing to the Paramhams Yogananji. Pray to him for giving us the wisdom to understand his message. While down, just breathe normally. Again, slow, long, deep breath. Inhale. Hold. Very slowly sit up, get up. Just sitting position. Exhale. Attention in the fountain. Normal conscious breathing. You are just aware of the breath going in and coming out without any effort on your part. Now we'll do some slow, long, and deep breaths, inhalation and exhalation. While inhalation, perceive you are inhaling love of God and Gurus in your own being, inside your own being. When you are exhaling, you are emanating all peace from within to outside the whole world. Slow, long, deep. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. 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 Just rest in this environment of love and peace all around you. No spatial breathing. Just sit silently. Gently take the attention on the breath. Slowly open your eyes. Try to be in this environment of love and peace throughout the whole day and watching your breath. Be aware of your breath. That is the means to experience love and peace all around. With this, I'll conclude the session with the prayers. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Thank you everyone.